What's up guys, my name is Tom, welcome back to another video and here for another episode of my F1 2021 career mode. Today is time for episode 6 and it's time for the French Grand Prix, one of the tracks that I don't really enjoy to drive, let's be honest. I think not many people like Paul Ricard, but hopefully we can be happy like we were at Canada. A banger of a race. Make sure to check it out before you see this episode. It was an absolute classic. Montreal, not disappointing once again, but you can see that we're going to buy some upgrades before jumping onto the track. One is going to be a minor upgrade for the chassis and it should be ready for the next race, which is the Austrian Grand Prix, one of my favorite tracks on the calendar. But today we're going to focus at France, and you can see that I decided to skip some days in order to get some extra resource points to buy this minor upgrade that should be ready for the British Grand Prix. Is going to be for the Aero. You can see that now we are ahead of Alfa Romeo, but you can see that we have a long way to go if we want to catch AlphaTauri, which is the team that is ahead of us in the Aero part. And it seems that all the upgrades are ready, so thankfully we're going to have something for this weekend. It's going to be just one, but now you can see that we have 3 upgrades that should be coming in the next 2 races. So this is going to give us a huge boost. We're getting to the summer break, so hopefully we can buy some good amount of upgrades during that time. But now we are seeing, you can see that is going to be one from the chassis ready for this weekend. And in terms of the weather forecast, it seems that it's going to be a dry race, however it's going to get cloudy, so who knows, maybe we can have a late shower, we don't know. But now you can see in the performance chart Williams getting closer, and you can see that things are getting really close between McLaren and Ferrari and Aston Martin, and McLaren is starting to catch Red Bull, so this can get really interesting. Because we can have a banger of a second half of the season if the performance chart tells the true pace. You can see that Mercedes is still the best car, and Red Bull is not catching the silver arrows as quickly as maybe it would wish in order to win races. Remember that so far Red Bull hasn't won a single race so far this season, so just see how much they're struggling for pace, and the Mercedes are starting to run away. However, the likes of these guys like the McLarens and the Ferraris, they are starting to catch Red Bull, and if everything goes well, they will eventually catch Mercedes. So this is heading to be an absolutely bang of the season. Probably Mercedes has already maybe the constructors title in their hand, and the drivers as well. It's probably going to be between Bottas and Hamilton. However, considering how things are evolving already in the first season, we might be heading for a banger of a season 2, so I can't wait to see what is going to happen. This season 1 is already being amazing, but anyway, we're going to qualifying. Practice wise, pace was really good. I was actually feeling pretty comfortable with the car, which is a thing that I don't usually feel in a track like Paul Ricard. So let's see if this can play on our hands and take advantage of being comfortable with this Haas in a track like Paul Ricard. You know, I'm not having understeer, I'm not having oversteer. Things are going really nicely for her, really smoothly, so hopefully we can carry this now into qualifying and into the race as we go through the penultimate corner. Now through the last corner we missed completely the apex and we lost the buckets of time, opened the DRS. This lap wasn't good, it was just a banker. I was like getting a feel of the soft tires and the light car. I always like to do, you know, the first lap at 90%, but you can see that we go on the last corner, it wasn't that good. We still missed the apex, opened the DRS, and we're going to be up 1/10 of a second comparing to our previous best, and we are 9/10 away of Antonio Giovinazzi, and me shaking the wheel because I was frustrated because I made a lot of mistakes in these 2 laps. So what I decided to do is that this is still the same set of softs. However, I went into the garage and got out again to refuel the car, and now I'm doing another lap without mistakes to see where I can gain time, you know, getting more track knowledge. You can see that we're not improving. That's because these tires are absolutely dead. They are like in 20-odd%. It was just me getting more knowledge of the track because it's quite critical for me. You can see that we are 5/10 away of P19, which is Nicholas Latifi, so you can see that we were struggling a lot in these first 2 laps. So this is our final chance to see what we can do. Now this is a fresh set of soft comparative tires. We're going to join me for the rest of this lap, for the entire lap I should say, and let's see what we can do about it. Hopefully we can out-qualify Mick Schumacher and our rival Antonio Giovinazzi as we go into the first corner, already almost gaining 0.2 of a second, so good first couple of corners. And now this is a section of track that I really like. You can carry so much speed with this car. Make sure to give a tighter line here in order to get a beautiful slingshot out of this right hand. And now here you must be patient, and at the same time you must do the largest, the widest line that you can do in order to carry more speed. Open the DRS, we are 4/10 tenths up on our previous best, so it's been a great first sector. Hopefully we can carry this pace for the rest of the lap as we brake very hard into the chicane at the end of the Mistral straight. He's very easy to lose the back end of the car if you hit that curb, which it wasn't the case, thankfully. Losing a bit of time, but this second sector was the best one of my first laps. It was the one that I did less mistakes. We're going to gain buckets of time, especially at the final corner where we missed the apex twice. Now here is very important to get a good line. Maybe I could have went a bit wider to get a better slingshot, I don't know. And now here you must take a wide line in order to take a good apex. You can hit that curb, it doesn't matter. The car doesn't get unsettled, so you can do that without getting punished. However, the line wasn't the best and I ended up to lose a bit of time. But now this is critical. Hopefully we hit the apex on the final corner, which we do so. And you can see gaining chunks of time, open the DRS, 7 tenths of improvement. Where this is going to put us at the start of Sunday's race if we get knocked out in Q1, which it seems most likely to be. And it is P19. Only second last, only ahead of Nicola Latifi, so definitely not the result that I was expecting. And yeah, I was feeling comfortable on practice, but now on qualifying, I don't know if they were the nerves. Maybe the car is behaving a bit different because it's light, I don't know. But the truth is that my qualifying pace continues to be not the best, being out qualified by our rival and our teammate. Kimi Räikkönen gets through, but we have a lot of work to do on Sunday. However, we're going to stick with the one stop because we can start in whatever tire we want, and the one stop can be powerful and a track like Paul Ricard. So I'm really excited to see. Never say never in Formula 1. Remember what happened in the last episode? We were round, but we ended up to finish on the points. It's going to be harder this time because it seems that we won't have any rain. So without further ado, let's go to Sunday for the French Grand Prix.
Here we are again then at Le Castellet for another round of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. Renault took their first French Grand Prix win all the way back in the inaugural race in 1906, but it was another 73 years before they could take their second. I'm sure Alpine will be pushing hard to delight the local fans here today. A lap of Paul Ricard then consists of 15 corners and a total length of around 3.6 miles. Drivers will need to position their cars carefully on the exit of the flat-out turn 10, ready for the double apex right-hander at 11. Watch out for potential overtaking action at the end of the start-finish straight and into the heavy braking zone of turn 8. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Norris, Sergio Perez and Verstappen, Leclerc, Vettel, Sainz and Pierre Gasly, Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda and Ocon, Raikkonen, Mick Schumacher, Antonio Giovinazzi and George Russell, Thomas and Nicholas Latifi. And now it's time to head down to the track.
After the points finish last race, let's aim to keep the momentum going.
Thanks Jeffrey, and welcome guys to the French Grand Prix, starting in P19. And hopefully it can be a good race for us. Strategy-wise, it's going to be one stop. It's going to be hard to, score points again, because let's be honest, we are in a Haas. It will depend how good this one stop, how powerful this one stop can be. But now taking a look at the strategy, and you can see that it is a 50-50 situation. The guys on the top 10 are going to start on the softs, and the guys outside of the top 10 are going to start on the mediums, with the exception of the two Alfa Romeos starting on the hardest comparative tires. So they're going to be struggling in the early stage of the Grand Prix, but who who knows that can play in their favor as we get ready for those 5 red lights for the French Grand Prix. 27 laps ahead of us, and it's lights out and away we go at Paul Ricard. Great start already alongside George Russell, and look at us threading the needle side by side with our teammates, and now with the veteran Kimi Räikkönen as we go very gingerly into turn 1. Round the inside, we're trying to go on the Alpine, but we step on the curb and we're around, and I think there's a crash. We made contact, and oh, that is a huge crash between myself. Räikkönen is out, Latifi is out. We have a 5-second time penalty. That was a big one, but somehow we don't have floor damage, we don't have sideboard damage, and the safety car for the first time in this career mode series gets deployed. But what a crash that was. What has happened? It was my fault. Was it my fault? Was it Räikkönen's fault? Is what we're going to see. So Räikkönen doesn't get a good start, and let's see what we do into turn 1. Up the inside goes his teammate, who actually made a bit of contact when we were trying to go run inside. But yeah, I just lost on my own, stepping on the curb. And yeah, that was a very harsh hit, and it was enough to put Räikkönen out of the race. The same for this man, Nicola Latifi. Not a very good start from the Williams car, and I think he's going to be the innocent victim as well. And oh, that is so unfortunate. Just a slight touch, but it was enough to make him to lose the wheel. Oh, and yeah, it was my fault. I don't know why I have a 5-second penalty. It's an absolute joke. I just lost it on my own. I was trying maybe to get a look on the Alpine. I got on that curb, and it was pretty much game over. I don't know how I'm still in this race, because I should have you know, buckets of floor damage, but thankfully the game decided to be friendly to me. Remember that I'm running with simulation damage, so I think maybe this is a thing that Codemasters should fix. They should make the damage model a bit harsher. But anyway, we're going to pull into the pits. We don't have front wing damage, however we're going to serve this 5-second penalty, which actually is going to really come in handy, because now we have the safety car, everyone is bunched up, we're going to serve the penalty, and it's going to be like we didn't have penalty. The only thing that is going to affect us a little bit is that we're going to be in last place in this Grand Prix. We're going to still stick with the one stop, we're going to fit a fresh set of mediums, and then over the course of the race we're going to dress a brand new set of hard tires. But what a crash it was, the first safety car of the series, and in a way it was caused by me, but you know, it was a mistake, and everyone is bunched up together on lap 1. So I consider that a racing incident. But this is the man leading the race, a Mercedes 1, 2, 3 we can say, and this is Lewis Hamilton leading the French Grand Prix at the moment. I should say that it is Bernd Maylander, and still in the art lap we managed to catch this train. You can see the 2 Alpines way down the order in their own Grand Prix. That is an absolute disaster. Mick Schumacher at the moment finds himself in P14 in this race, so great race from him so far. He's still lap 3. We're going to get into the first racing lap of this Grand Prix. Safety car in this lap, and this Grand Prix gets underway once again with Valtteri Bottas leading Grand Prix. Actually, it was Bottas, so apologies for that. It's Valtteri Bottas leading the Grand Prix, the current championship leader. Leads the Grand Prix. I think he's leading the championship, if I'm not wrong. But now we'll see what we can do, because now we have the Williams, the Alfa Romeos, everyone is ahead of us, and maybe we can do a cheeky overtake on one of these Alpine cars. We'll see what we can do about it. It's a long race. Remember that we can take the advantage of the guys on the 2 stop. Maybe thanks to the safety car period, some guys maybe can stretch to the 1 stop. Is going to be really challenging, because tire wear can be pretty harsh, especially when you're with the softest compound of tire. The guys like me that are on the 1 stop, the most vital thing is going to be, you know, the tire management, and for the guys on the 2 stop is going to be how fast they manage the traffic. But now this is Fernando Alonso gaining on George Russell, still in the same lap. We're watching this live. Round the outside goes the Spaniard, a very easy move on the Williams, and gets up into a P15. So the Alpine cars have a lot of work to do, and now Russell's being overtaken by Esteban Ocon in his own Grand Prix, and this should be a pretty easy move. They're still side by side. Russell somehow manages to defend from Esteban Ocon, and look how close now we are to the Alpine, as I lose massively the back end, and I was maybe thinking in the cheeky move on Esteban Ocon. But we have the first 2 stoppers coming into the pit. This is Pierre Gasly and Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, so it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do. Are going to fit the hard tires and maybe risk to go till the end? It seems they are dressing a set of medium tires, so definitely these guys are going with the 2 stop, and it's going to be the same that for the guys that started inside of the top 10. But you can see that Gasly had a 5-second time penalty. I don't know why, maybe it was during the safety car, he overtook someone illegally, I'm not entirely sure. And I only realized now, ooh, we lost a bit the back end, and thankfully this track is very forgiving when it comes to walls. Like I was saying, as we receive a warning for corner cutting, Russell has a 5-second time penalty. Probably it was during the safety car, or maybe he made contact with someone during that crash, because it was in the pack. As Russell once again defends from Esteban Ocon. This is fantastic stuff from the Williams. This guy should be Mercedes in Season 2. And now side by side we go with the Alpine. Run the outside, we go through the long right hander. Oh, this is so fantastic to see. This is amazing to see. And we overtook an Alpine, and now I'm trying to take a look around the inside of George Russell, but we don't have enough legs for that. And somehow we overtook an Alpine at the French Grand Prix. This is absolutely fantastic stuff. And what we need to do now is try to overtake George Russell. Maybe I'm thinking a move once again somewhere in the Mistral Straight. Meanwhile, this is Lewis Hamilton in second place, pulling into the pit. And I'm not surprised it's going to be the same. And yes, it is fitting the medium comparator as well for Daniel Ricciardo, looking pretty pacey on that McLaren. So it seems that Ricciardo finally is finding some ground at McLaren. I think he lost some positions during the pit stop. I'm not entirely sure, because that took a bit longer than usual. And I think he ended up to lose some positions to the Red Bull car. But now we come back to our POV. This is still in the same lap. While these guys were pitting, we are trying to get closer to George Russell. You can see I always take a wide line there, because I always get a better run. I always get that slingshot that everyone likes. And you can see that now deploying ERS to overtake mode, and we're going to have the DRS available. George Russell doesn't have any chance to defend this whatsoever. Caning, going defensive. So who's going to be bravest on brake? We don't even to be brave on the brakes, because we are already ahead of George Russell as we hit the apex. I think this is Fernando Alonso making a move on Giovinazzi that is still on the hard tires, but this is the man that is leading the race. It's Yuki Tsunoda, and that is the first one that started on the medium comparator. He's the first of the one-stoppers. So this is really interesting. Tsunoda can get a good result in this race, as Schumacher gets overtaken by Fernando Alonso, so he doesn't have any chance whatsoever. Schumacher can be heading to a very good result, as now this is Valtteri Bottas that is right behind us now, because he overtook the Williams of George Russell. So now this is the tricky part of the race. We need to see how well we're going to manage this traffic, because we don't want to lose time with these guys, because let's be honest, we are in a different race. But now this is Giovinazzi, and you can see in the MFD, you can see on the head-up display, I should say, Mick Schumacher has a 5-second time penalty as well, like Russell, like Gasly. So everyone is getting 5-second time penalty. So Michael Masi should be busy at the moment during this race. It's been a long afternoon from the race director, as now we are gaining on Giovinazzi, brave on the brakes. Look how much we outbrake the Alfa Romeo, and that's us up into 5th place, and now he should be under threat from the Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas. So Giovinazzi struggling a little bit, no surprise, he is on that disgusting hard tire we're going to be on, but he's going to be still in a few laps time. Meanwhile, we're going to see if the Alfa Romeo defends from the Mercedes, which is not the case, but Tsunoda leads this race, and he can be heading to a great result. It will depend how well the guys on the two-stop handle the strategy, and this is Lance Stroll. He was trying to get the lead of the race, but Stroll spins round, and look at him. We're going to overtake. It's going to be a free position. Oh, that is so unfortunate. I think Stroll could have the pace to take the lead, because that's an Aston Martin. He has the Mercedes power. That is so unfortunate for George Russell, for Lance Stroll. Why did I say George Russell? Okay, anyway, that is really unfortunate from the Aston Martin. Meanwhile, we're catching Mick Schumacher, but I think he's not going to be enough. He's going defensive, so actually might do something. But Schumacher gets really good on the brakes, and he's still in P3. Schumacher's on the podium as well, but I really want to be on the podium. So let's see what we can do about it. As we're deploying overtake mode, side by side we go with Schumacher. We're going to try to go round the outside through the long right hand, wait for the speed. There is the two Haas cars, but Schumacher gets a good run, and we have to settle down and leave the fight for another day. Meanwhile, Valtteri Bottas is gaining on us, so we need to be really careful about the Mercedes, but because at some time we're going to be overtaken by the Silver Arrows, because that car is an absolute beast. We don't get a good run of the left-hander thanks to the dirtier. I'm struggling a little bit to keep up with Schumacher, and now going wide once again, and there goes Valtteri Bottas down the inside. He goes side by side. We go through the hairpin, through the last corner. I'm going to squeeze him a little bit aggressively, because I don't want to lose ground to Schumacher as we go through the final to the start-finish rate, I should say, gaining and gaining on Schumacher, but for the time being, I'm not going to do anything on our teammate. It's better to wait for the Mistral straight, to wait for the DRS as I get a bit shaky at the exit of turn 2, so I don't want to, you know, spin around once again. One time was enough, and I still don't know how I, you know, got away without getting any damage. But anyway, now we need to set up this nicely. Bottas tried to go on the inside through that corner, so he thought I was going wide, but that's the line that I like to take, and I think this should be enough to make an overtaking attempt on our teammate. So we'll see what we can do opening the DRS. We need to be careful with Bottas as well because he's not that far up the road. Gaining and gaining on Schumacher, going defensive once again, and I think this time we have enough legs to go around inside and outbraking, and that's us up into third place. So great move from us, and we're going to see if now we can pull away from our teammate Schumacher. We'll see if he's going to be under pressure from Valtteri Bottas. That can make things easy for us. But now you can see on the heads-up display, Yuki Tsunoda still leads this race with a 10-second lead. Tsunoda can get a good result as now Schumacher sends one down inside because I went wide. I carried too much speed, and now Schumacher is trying to regain this position. Look at Bottas go, and now I think we got a position, but Schumacher is going to do the switch back because I ran massively wide, and our teammate is back on the podium. And Bottas, now we are on a threat from the Mercedes, but I think yes, we're still side by side through the hairpin, and we squeeze the Bottas aggressively because I don't want to lose time. I want to keep up with Schumacher, gaining and gaining on the Haas. Which way we're going, inside, outside? It seems like we're going out the outside line, free wide between Bottas, Norris, and I think that's Sergio Perez. But finally we get up into third place, and now let's see if we can pull away from Mick. And now maybe this is a free wide between these guys. This fight is not over yet, and down inside goes Lando Norris. Beautiful double overtake from the McLaren driver. That was outstanding. Norris out of nowhere gains 2 positions, one on Bottas, one on Perez. What a move it was from the McLaren, and it might be another overtake because now he's super close to Schumacher, gaining and gaining. Which way he's going to go? It seems that he's pulling to the right hand side of the track. Right hand side he goes, and I think Bottas Bottas gets overtaken by Perez. So that was I was going to say, but let's take a look at this move from Lando Norris. Beautiful overtake maneuver from the McLaren driver. So it seems that Bottas and Perez were going side by side. Norris is gaining, and out of nowhere, just watch this. He completely hits up the inside, and somehow he makes that the cleanest dive bomb that maybe I ever seen from an AI car in an F1 game. That was textbook from the Brit, and now we skip a little bit for the still in the same lap 12. We're going to pull into the pits and dress a brand new set of hard comparative tire, and that is going to be the only stop that we have to do. I mean, we did one on lap 1, but that doesn't count, let's be honest. And Bottas is pulling into the pits as well. So that's kind of weird to see because Bottas fitted a new set of mediums a few laps ago. So that is really weird to see from Bottas. I don't know if he has front wing damage. I don't think so because he's still not very far from us. So I don't know what Mercedes is thinking, but anyway, we're going to leave the pits, and it seems for the time being we are in P14. Now we are on the hard tires. We don't have to stop anymore in this race, and some guys ahead of us need to stop once again in this race. So points are an option. However, it's going to be really challenging to finish inside of the top 10. And now we have behind us the guy that was in second place in this race, Lance Stroll, is on the harder comparative tire as well, and at the moment he's trying to come back through the field, slicing through the field, and to see if he can do something decent, because he could have taken the lead of the race when he was in striking distance of Yuki Tsunoda, because that Mercedes is really powerful and there's nothing that I can do, and Stroll goes through. When it comes to these guys that are on faster cars, there's nothing that I can do, and I think it's better to let them go through than trying to keep them behind, because we're going to lose time with each other, and that can ruin our race, especially mine that is racing for the top 10 places, which is not an easy task at all. But this is Yuki Tsunoda overtaking Antonio Giovinazzi, and I think he should be leading this race once these two stoppers pit. First we need to see where Tsunoda comes out, but I have the feeling that Tsunoda can get a good result, and maybe it will depend on these guys. You can see that now Tsunoda is in P4. Both Red Bulls and Lewis Hamilton still need to pit, so this means that Tsunoda will be leading this race and can win this race because Tsunoda doesn't have to pit anymore. This is Lando Norris leaving the pits. This is Fernando Alonso running at the moment in a virtual second place. So this race is turning out to be an absolute banger of a one, or an absolute classic. Tsunoda can win for AlphaTauri, but now he has a tough 10 laps to keep Norris behind. Norris has a lot of ground to do on that AlphaTauri, but I think that Norris can win. Tsunoda can... I don't know. At this moment, I don't know who can win this race. As Bottas goes through, there's no point in battling the Mercedes, let's be honest. We find ourselves in P10 at the moment. In any time soon, is maybe now some guys are pitting. It's going to be still P10. There goes Lewis Hamilton. I'm not going to do anything. We're trying to play smart here, but the thing is that we have Vettel behind in P11. 2 seconds up the road, so the chances of finishing on the points are starting to get shorter and shorter. It's starting to be, you know, a bit of an illusion. But now lap 18, Yuki Tsunoda leads the French Grand Prix, and this is Fernando Alonso in second place, and I think he's under pressure from Lando Norris, and there he is, slipstream on the Alpine. Alonso can get a podium in this race, but it's going to be really hard. Run inside goes Lando Norris, and he is up into second place. So now these laps for Norris and for Tsunoda are critical, because any of those two can legitimately win this race. Norris completely deserves the race win after losing at the previous episode at the Canadian Grand Prix. He did nothing wrong, it was an engine failure. However, I would love to see Yuki Tsunoda winning for AlphaTauri, the first Japanese F1 driver to win a Grand Prix. And talking about the other AlphaTauri, this is Pierre Gasly. And unfortunately I have to tell you that Vettel is out of the race, so I forgot to show you that, so apologies for that. But now unfortunately we are outside of the top 10, and now we skip all the way forward onto the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, starting the last lap of the Grand Prix. This is Lewis Hamilton going round inside of Sergio Perez, but in any time soon you're going to see Yuki Tsunoda still leading this race. This is the last lap of the Grand Prix, and Norris is in striking distance of the AlphaTauri. The sky is getting a little bit darker, but no rain is going to come to play in this final lap of the French Grand Prix. Who's going to win this race, Norris or Tsunoda? Norris has DRS, and here comes Lando Norris in the McLaren. This is for the race lead, and down inside goes the McLaren, but I think Tsunoda gets a good run around the outside. This is fantastic stuff. This race is turning out to be an absolute classic, and for the time being Tsunoda still in the lead of this race with a half a lap to go, but Norris now side by side they go through the long right-hander, and who's going to be the biggest winner? The opportunities are starting to run out, but Norris takes the lead of the French Grand Prix, and I think there's nothing that Yuki Tsunoda can do about it. And this is going to be the McLaren driver first win in Formula 1, first McLaren win since the 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix. This is fantastic stuff. He has one corner to go to get his first F1 win, and there he goes. Lando Norris wins for the first time in Formula 1 at Paul Ricard. Oh my, what a race. Great result. Commiserations to Yuki Tsunoda. So close, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to get another win for AlphaTauri, and Fernando Alonso didn't have any pace whatsoever to finish on the podium. He crosses the line in P8, but for us, so close to the points, P11, but it wasn't enough as well. But I'm really happy with this result, considering what we had, being round at 10-2 on the first lap and now finishing in P11. This is without a doubt a positive result for Haas.
A great race then, and a fantastic victory here at Paul Ricard. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
And look at that, they're making their way out onto the podium now. Great race from the McLaren team, and I'm really happy to see them there on the top step of the podium.
And there you have it. What a race it was. Look at this podium. Lando Norris, Yuki Tsunoda, and then Max Verstappen. This was an incredible race, and I think I'm starting to like Paul Ricard, if you ask me. Oh boy, I don't have any words to describe this moment. Taking the lead of the race with half a lap to go, Lando Norris, everyone, takes his first win in Formula 1. Hopefully we can still see this in the real life season. He's been doing an absolute banger of a job. And then Yuki Tsunoda, it's most likely to not see him up on the podium in the real life Formula 1. Constructor standings, Bottas still leads 5 points ahead of Lando Norris. This is absolute quite unbelievable to see. The scenes. Norris 5 points away from the championship lead. Can Norris win this championship? It's going to be really hard. We need to have a lot of crazy races and a lot of bad luck for the Mercedes drivers to see a scenario like this. And for us, it's P14 with 11 points. So close to finishing P10, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. It is what it is. It's Formula 1. It can be cruel, but at the same time it can give us amazing things like it was this race. And now let's take a look at the constructor standings. Is still Mercedes leading the way, 20 points ahead of Red Bull, but thanks to that amazing podium from Tsunoda, AlphaTauri moves up into 6th place ahead of Aston Martin. For Haas, is still P8, and I think this is maybe the maximum that we can get over the course of this season. Never say never, we're not going to give up. You never know what race is ahead of us. Maybe we can get a miraculous podium as well. But guys, that has been episode 6 of my F1 2021 career mode with Haas. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe if you're new and smash the like button. It really motivates me to make more. Make sure to join the family and not miss a single video. But that has been me for today. My name's Tom, and I'll see you guys on Brendan next time. But for now, take care.